Some might call BS on this one, but I assure you that it is, in fact, a true story. Anybody that knows me will attest to the fact that I have a wall full of backpacks in my man cave. In 2016, I decided I needed another one. I was looking at 3 major brands, and I settled on one. It worked out well for about a year and a half. But it wasn't until my buddy Jake killed a cow elk off the end of this ridge. Now, it shouldn't have been a tough hike out, but that pack crushed me. It just did not perform well with that kind of weight in it. Now, in full disclosure, that winter is when I met Aron. And Aron got me pointed in the direction of Kifaru. Rest of that winter and into the spring, I did a bunch of training hikes in preparation for an 8-day trip into the Frank Church. That pack performed flawlessly. And then that following fall, between myself and friends, I ended up packing out 5 animals. Well, the next few years, I've used that pack a bunch. And now I think I can give you a pretty fair assessment on it. That pack is going to be heavier than any pack you've ever owned. But when you need it, it's not going to let you down. Today, I use the 44 mag on elk hunts and overnight trips. And then most of the time, I'm using the Striker pack. That Striker pack is so versatile, it'll blow your mind. So, you're looking for a pack, don't do what I did. Go right to the top. Kifaru International. Check them out on their website. You won't be disappointed. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this month's episode of this, easy for me to say, The Empty Quiver, brought to you by Blackwidow Bows. What's up, Blake?
What up?
You and I have been running solo. It's the first time we've done anything together for a while.
Yeah, it's okay. Limited exposure.
I was all ready to get thrashed on this episode, and you guys went pretty easy on me.
I kept it to a minimum. You've been working hard.
Uh-oh. We got tired, Blake. We better hustle up. He's defenseless. We got Empty Quiver with Aron Snyder, and we both posted on the Stickbook Chronicles and on Aron's page Q&A, and we got some really good questions, and it's kind of a long episode, but it was good. We moved right on through. We covered a lot of questions.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was kind of anything from backpacking to shooting to arrow setups, bow setups, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it was really good. I wanted to talk or just give a big shout out to the Traditional Bow Hunters of Montana and Bridger Bowman Club over there in Montana. They did an awesome job with the Western States Rendezvous over in Lolo Hot Springs. I was over there with the fam last weekend and met some cool folks. They did a great job. It was awesome. Had a blast. So thank you.
No, it looked like a lot of fun. It looked like you got to put some faces to some names and mingle a little bit.
Yeah.
And
met some
I'm going to have to make it up there for that one at some point. It's
going to be in Ty Valley, Oregon next year. But I certainly met some characters. That was good stuff. I Hunt Close Trad Kill 2021, full swing. We are getting an inbox full of photos. Any stick bow big game kill from January 1st to December 1st, get them sent to ihuntcloseofficial@gmail.com. And if it's your first trad kill, mark it down as your first trad kill because we pulled one of the prizes out and put it in a separate category. And everybody's behaved themselves because we've got, I don't know how many photos we've got, but I haven't got any to my phone or to my Instagram or the Instagram account. So it's been going good.
Yeah, no, it's been good. Even as early in the year as it is, we've gotten quite a few submissions already, and want to give a special thanks to all the companies that are supporting it. Got Selway Archery, Kifaru International, Safari Tough, Randy Cooling over there at Safari Tough is jumping in, Sitka, and Iron Will Broadheads.
Yeah.
So, thanks to those companies. And
big thanks. Did you see that picture of how I put my bow in my truck on the way back from the Western States? That Safari Tough picture, transformer case?
No, I don't guess I did.
Yeah, I had it in that transformer case, and I was, trying to get out of there. You got people talking to you, and I'm like, let's go. I couldn't get the bow in the truck fast enough, so I just took bungee cords, and I bungeed it to the back of the headache rack of my truck. And it worked perfect, man.
That'll do it.
Yeah, it worked perfect. That case is rock solid. I'm not sure Toby would have appreciated it, but I didn't show Toby, so.
That's okay. They can refinish it.
I was in the case. Wasn't going to get scratched. Well, that's it, man. Big thanks to sponsors: Kifaru International, Selway Archery, the Footed Shaft, Backwoods Grind Coffee Company, and of course Blackwidow Bows. Thank you all for listening. I think it's a good episode. And you got anything, bud?
No, that's it. It's a pretty long episode, so we'll keep her short.
Sounds good, man. Enjoy the week. Roger out. What's going on, Aaron?
Not too much. I was just out shooting in the rain, hammering, stuff like that.
Keep hammering.
Yeah, that too.
Rob hammered yesterday.
Yeah, I did actually.
Yeah. You feeling pretty good?
I actually do. My stomach muscle's nothing. A little sore in the shoulders, but I've tried it before, and I couldn't get past the pull-ups. I had to do like the last 75 or so, or excuse me, the last 25 were like a little kipping, so I was doing a little swinging.
Yeah, so in that workout, everything is relatively doable, except, I got to do sets of 10. I smoke myself. I can't for pull-ups. The air squats and the push-ups are easy. I just superset back and forth. The pull-ups kill me. Well, I'm not saying running with a 50-pound flak jacket on also kills me as well. But yeah, that's a kick in the ding ding.
How long did it take you?
48 minutes.
I broke it up into really small sets. There's no way I would burn myself out fast on those pull-ups. I did 3, 6, and 9. So I did 34 sets. It's just kind of a mind game. Well, it was cool. It felt good after. Well, I smoked afterwards, but it felt good getting it done.
Yeah, I bet.
So we got some questions we posted on Instagram about some questions. You got a few, didn't you?
We got a few hundred. I was gonna let you know, like, hey, I'm not blowing you off, but I don't want to post this too early because it needs to be manageable. Yeah, we've gone to plaid. Even at the time I posted it, there's got to be 500 or 600 questions. So I'll pick through the good ones on my side.
What are you gonna say, Blake? What do you got? What do you got over there?
Nothing. I'm just hanging out,
what he's
bro.
doing? He's looking out at his window, admiring his new truck.
That's right.
That's admiration.
It's the first brand new truck I've ever bought.
Is it? What'd you get?
2021 Z71 Colorado Chevrolet.
Chevy Colorado. Have you seen that video with the tornado dispenser? American.
No,
but I feel like I'm going to get enlightened.
Oh, okay. When we get off, just get on YouTube and type in Chevy Colorado and Chevy Silverado. I can't repeat any of it out loud, but I strongly encourage everybody to go. The guy's named American. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that, and then you guys text me.
Yeah, I've seen that guy's videos before on Facebook. I don't know that I've ever watched that though.
Well, I'm intrigued.
It's funny, but man, I'm gonna I'll just start going over the questions here. We can kind of go back and forth between what you guys got and what I got.
Sounds good, man.
Cool. All right, the first question I got is from California Trad Bow Hunters, and it's you cant the bow a lot. Why? Side note, I do also, so not hating. So for me, I anchor outside of my face, way back and outside. And so for me to look down the arrow and the arrow to hit where I'm aiming at, I've got to get my eye over the arrow. So I have to cant it because I'm anchoring on the outside of the face. So my point of aim or whatever is the same, my point of my impact. If I anchor and go vertical, I can't look down my arrow. So that's why I can't. And that just came, I mean, as a matter of course, I guess, for the way my aiming method works, that I shot vertical at first, and it just the way that my aiming method is, I had to cant, and that's just the way I do it now.
Yeah, I've seen some hate
All
on
right.
canting recently.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I don't. I have seen people talk crap about me with the whole canting thing, but it's going to be, yeah. I mean, even Rod Jenkins always tells me to stand up like a man, but I'm probably not switching. I'll just bend over like a girl. I don't give a shit. I'm hitting what I'm aiming at, and I'm afraid to switch. Just bottom line, I'm shooting right now better than I ever have, and I don't intend to stand up like a man. I don't want to. I'm afraid.
I think
I shoot worse.
I think it's working out for you.
Yeah. I get it though. As far as like obviously there's nobody in the Olympics canting over like Hunchback of Notre Dame, but I'm not. Don't have admirations to shoot in the Olympics. I had admirations to shoot lots of animals. So that's what I'm sticking with.
All right, what do we got next?
All right. My springy rest is leaving marks on my fletching. Is that common, or do I have an issue? It depends. I do not get any wear marks on my veins with my springy rest, so that could definitely be downward pressure. So you probably tearing knock low and stiff if you're getting contact marks. So I can't say it's an issue, but I'm assuming it's probably an issue. That was from Oz Stott. The next one is from Q Pups. Is it easier in the long run to start with a trad bow or compound first and then trad? I would say and I think we should all answer this one, there is nothing wrong with starting with a compound and going to trad, but if you're really intrigued by traditional archery, I would say just dive in, get the traditional bow, and just start focusing on bettering yourself with that. I don't know that there's a benefit to shooting a compound first other than a faster you're going to be accurate faster with a compound, but you're losing time that you could be gaining momentum with the stick bow if you go to the compound first. So I'd say go with what's in your heart, but nothing wrong with either. Go ahead, you guys. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'd say the same thing. And I mean, if you're the type of person that being somewhat successful out of the gate is ingrained in your personality, that will keep you engaged, and maybe go with the compound. If you're the guy who wants to do the nastiest, gnarliest, hardest, whatever, go with the stick bow, or if that's just what you fall in love with. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you get effective with the compound and shoot a compound correctly, that transfers really well into a stick bow. So I don't really think there's a wrong answer. It's just kind of an individual thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. It depends on what you're after. But if you're open to either, man, I'd jump in feet first with the stick. It's a challenge, man. It's a mental challenge, physical challenge. Yeah, I'd jump in with the stick. But
yeah, Blake, you want to dive in with any questions?
Yeah. So first question is from Miles Essick.
Do we know him? Do we know him?
It seems like I've heard the name. So he's a goat roper. He says best head.
You ain't no cowboy.
Says best headlamp that also has a red lens.
So I would say the best for the money is the Princeton Tech Remix. It's 300 lumens. One of the nicest things about it is when you hit the button to turn it on, it's red lens first, so you don't have to worry about shining this giant bright light trying to click it over one to the next or hold it in your palm. There's a few other headlamps out there that do the same, but I would say for the money, I think the Remix is $39. They make it in different colors, and again, it's 300 lumens. Battery life's really good. It takes AAA's. That's definitely my favorite, and I've used it for the last 3 years. I switched from a Black Diamond Storm or Spot, I can't remember, and I definitely prefer it over the Black Diamond.
Yeah, the Storm's what I'm using now, so I'm going to have to check out the Princeton Tech.
I have no clue what I'm using.
You got another one?
Yes, bow quiver options for ILF bows. Selway's Great Northern versus like a tight spot, etc.
So my personal opinion on tight spot is they're extremely overpriced. They're very, very loud. They've had really good marketing. They do their job, but even for a compound, there's better options out there. They're pretty loud. I personally think the big three, you should go with a Selway. I prefer the strap-on two-piece Selway for an ILF. The Great Northern, they have an upgraded version with longer rods, so you don't get as much movement. And the Montana company, good Lord, what's the other
Thunderhorn?
Thunderhorn. Thunderhorn makes an awesome quiver as well. So I'd say one of those three would be great. Go ahead. You guys have everybody has their own little idiosyncrasies on quivers. So
pretty much the same as you on the tight spot. I used one 3 or 4 years, and they're just loud. I mean, I've always used a slide-on Selway since I picked up a stick, and it's always worked. And I don't know, that's what I'm going to continue using.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, buddy.
No, I was just going to say that, I mean, noise for me is a big factor, especially with the stick bows. So I'm definitely not poo-pooing on tight spot, but they are super loud.
I've said it on the podcast before. I got a Selway slide on that's over 30 years old. I've never used a Thunderhorn, and I've had several Great Northerns. I like the Selway because I like my arrows in a line like that. And I'm using that strap-on one now. I've used slide-on ones forever. I've used some bolt-on ones. He's got that flex that looks pretty intriguing. But no, right now it's a Selway slide-on. Works for me.
The only thing I would add to that is Drew Kohlhofer is an awesome dude with Selway. Bob Brum with Great Northern's a great guy. And the guys over at Thunderhorn are great guys too.
Yeah.
Drew is a hard guy not to like. He's a bit high-strung, but I've had insanely good luck with a Selway quiver as far as just straight putting animals on the ground. I made a joke on one of my hunts. This has nothing negative to do with Thunderhorn. It has nothing to do with the quiver, but I had a Thunderhorn on for the first 12-day ass whooping, 13 days. Came out for a day, strapped my Selway on, and killed my buck on the first stalk with the Selway. So there's some
some mojo.
Yeah, there's mojo on that thing. You don't want to lose your mojo like Austin Powers. So there's some mojo on that.
All right, next question is from Rogers DJ1. Best Kifaru pack and frame combo for day hunting North Idaho, September to December.
Striker XL or the 22 mag. Probably the Striker XL.
Would you recommend a bag with that? You guys offer that bag that slides in for gear?
Yeah, so I usually tell people with that XL to put a large and medium belt pouch on the back. And, either we have a camp bag or a dry sack.
Yeah.
Whatever your pleasure is. As far as, if it's really, really rainy, I would say to opt for some type of a dry sack, just get an off-colored one. to keep your gear in, to keep it dry. If weather's not a huge concern, you're going to use a pack cover. The thing that's nice, it's pretty robust, the camp bag. You can throw it off cliffs. If you needed to put anything in it, pull it up in a tree, you're not going to rip a hole in it or anything like that. So I would judge it off of more if you're going to just get pissed on rain, and then get a dry sack for the important stuff to put in the shelf. If not, then the camp bag's a lot more robust.
All right, you want me to keep going, or you want to throw some in now?
I'll throw a few in. From Scott Einsman. Scott's a stud, by the way. He's an awesome dude. What features do you look for in a bow? Speed, noise, grip, etc. So, for me personally, the grip is the first thing. So when I grab a bow, if the grip is close, and in the case of like the Blackwidow, I had them modified a little bit for me. But grip is a big one, and then I don't want the bow to stack. So the draw force curve, I don't mind, obviously, the length of the bow is important, obviously, for your draw length. So I don't want fingerprints. But if all the bows were 62 inches long, I want a smooth draw force curve. I don't want this crazy stacking the last couple inches. I want the grip to suit what I like. Noise, I believe almost every bow you can get relatively quiet, especially if you're shooting a heavier arrow. So those are the things that I look at, for out of the gate. You guys want to add to that?
No, you started with grip, and I think that's one of the most important ones right there. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I pick up a bow, I can pretty much rule it out or give it a try just based off of that. And then same thing with the draw force curve. I like a 60 to 62 inch bow. I draw just shy of 28 inches, about 27 3/4. So 60 to 62. It's kind of a happy medium for me. And then I like a pretty heavy mass weight bow. And I don't know. That's pretty much it for me. I'm not too overly picky. Once I kind of find something I like, I generally kind of stay within those parameters.
Yep. From Git, what the hell? Something Simmons too. How different, if you can quantify it, is shooting at an animal with a stick versus a target? Night and day difference. To quantify it, it would literally be the difference of watching someone fornicate on TV to actually doing it yourself. Quite a bit different. It's you can pretend, you can low crawl, you can shoot from your knees, but in the end, it's a foam target. Adrenaline, anxiety, all those things come into play. The unknown, things that you can't explain. I tried to explain, to prep my wife for it in words, and until you experience it, it's not. It's one. It's difficult to quantify, but literally, I would say it'd be like watching Skinamax and doing the deed yourself for the first time. It's not the same. It's not even remotely. It's not even the same ballpark or the same sport. So I would say significantly different for me. You two can go ahead, fire away if you have anything to add to that.
No, same thing. I mean, it took me a lot of animals in front of me to be able to learn how to compose myself. And every once in a while, I still have a brain fart moment where I kind of have one of those blackouts. For the most part, though, kind of gotten a handle on it. But I mean, for me, it just took a lot of repetition having animals in front of me, and it is certainly. I've shot some pretty high pressure shots at foam targets, and I mean, nerves certainly come into play, but it's not the same. The level of adrenaline, your field of vision narrowing, and all of those things, it's totally different.
Yeah, and we've talked about this quite a bit, not recently, but people that live in target-rich environments, as opposed to folks that might get to bend the bow once a year. That certainly helps when you get more opportunities.
Oh, it put me light years ahead. If I was living in a place where I only got maybe one shot opportunity a year, I might be in the same boat I used to be in, still more than likely would be.
Mhm. Gotcha. All right.
Let me,
This
hey,
is from
Aaron. I got a follow
Go ahead,
up. I got a follow up question from Knocked on Newman. That's right along those same lines. He's got a question. How can you recreate high pressure situations in training outside of going to competitions?
I would say that shooting in front of large groups of people or for large amounts of money. Um, I think that while different, somewhat the same when you're in a shoot off with someone shooting in front of a large group. Rob, you can chime into this. Having some asshole like me over your shoulder filming, then it adds anxiety. And anything that it can add anxiety, you can't do it just you and the target. You've got to have other things there. You got to have something on the line. So, is it the same? No, but at least gets you close. So, I do hear people say, I don't like shooting in large groups. And I never comment on that. But, usually I'm thinking, man, I would definitely work on it because it'll be the same thing. Not for everybody, but, same thing when you have animals in front of you, you may wish you put yourself under some pressure beforehand by shooting in front of people just to kind of get you ready, that adrenaline and anxiety and all that.
So his question is, in lieu of going to competitions, can you think of any other way to create that kind of pressure?
You don't have to be in a competition to when I say competition to a tournament, to have a few buddies over and gamble.
There you go.
You think about it. None of us are inherently wealthy. Put $100 on the line for an arrow against your buddy. I bet you do some dumb shit the first few times so you get used to it. No different than an animal. You got a gambling problem. Well, in case you're Luke, you still
Luke.
you still have a gambling problem. But anything you could do to add anxiety, whether it be 3 or 4 buddies or whatever. But if it's just you and the animal, or when I say you and the animal, you and the target, it's pretty hard to mimic that.
Yeah.
Just drill like crazy and hope it pulls through when an animal's in front of you and keep your craft together.
All right. I got one here. Oh, go ahead.
This is from the Push Archery. Who smells better, Blake or Rob?
That's got to be a Neville question.
No, I would have gone the other way. Zernzak. Certainly Blake. I don't know. I'm going to guess. I'm just going to say Blake.
I don't smell like prunes.
That's pretty funny. You drink a lot of prune juice, Rob? Are you trying to poo consistently?
You guys, I told you I was putting a cup on for this one.
All right. Here's a good one that I get asked a lot. Would 42-pound target limbs made for a 25-inch riser draw with more pounds on a 17-inch riser? So, yes, they would. I guess you gain, I think it's a pound per inch. So that's 8 pounds that you would gain going from a 25 to a 17-inch riser. So if it was a 19-inch riser, it would be 6 pounds. Or did I say that right? So no, it would be on a 19. Yeah, it'd be 6 pounds on a 19-inch riser.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm reading. Oh, I'm skipping that question. Let's see. Not a question, but thanks for all your guys' knowledge, man. That's from Extreme Bow Hunter. No problem. Let's see. This is from the Grave Outdoors. What's the more attractive bow, longbows or recurves? I personally think that is like, I'm a brunette, large breast guy. I would say it's the same thing. I am a recurve guy, but you could be a butt leg blonde guy, which would be the longbow guy. I'm not saying those coincide with each other perfectly, but you get the idea. I think it's each person. Go ahead, you two.
I will never look at a longbow again the same.
Every time I'm going to look at a recurve, I'm going to think of boobies, which is a good thing.
All righty. You ain't shooting my recurve again.
Sneak off in the back room with it.
All right, keep it clean.
If you see me motorboating your widow, you'll know what's going on.
All right, I got one from here's Miles again. Best Hilleberg tent for 1 to 2 people with backpacks for archery elk. I think I know the answer.
So I would say the Onion GT2, the Honorus, or if you want a lot of room, the Helogs would be the ones to look at. But I generally, I'm a pretty big fan of that Onion GT2. That's what Amy and I take, unless it's 4 season, the weather's real bad. But for elk, that would be the one I'd look at. The Honorus would be with walking sticks, dual entries, another good option. But the Onion's a little more robust.
The Honorus is a new version of the Nyack, right? It's basically a Nyack with 2 vestibules. Is that right?
Negative, sir. The Honorus or Anorus or whatever is a trekking pole shelter. It takes 2 trekking poles to erect it. The Nyack is like a 1.5 person. If you're broke back mounting it, it would be a 2 person with 2 men. I would not suggest that unless you were real tight and close with your buddy. For me, the Nyack's perfect for 1 person in gear. But yeah, the Honorus takes trekking poles to hold it up. So. All right. From Brian Ongus, I shoot a Prime Nexus 6, 70 pounds at a 31.5-inch draw. What would I need for a trad bow? So out of the gate, a minimum of 62-inch bow. I'd say maybe 64 would probably be better if you got a 31.5-inch draw. At 70 pounds, I would say you're going to want to start off, somewhere in probably the 45-pound range, definitely not over 50. I've got a lot of questions about heavy weight bows and all these questions, and I'll go into that more. But don't overbow yourself. I'd say 50 would be the max you'd want to start off with. A compound and stick bow are just way, way different. I actually started off with 42 pounds. So,
how does your draw length on a compound translate to a recurve?
It's identical, but I anchor in the same spot. And so initially everybody told me my draw length would be shorter, but those were a lot of guys that anchor on their eye tooth or their corner of their mouth. So if everybody listening in right now, curve your hand to kind of make a half fist like you're holding a string, put your middle finger on the corner of your mouth. Now go all the way back to where your thumb is under your ear. That's an extra 2 inches of draw length, which is why I shoot the same draw length as my compound. I'm anchoring the exact same spot with my hand as I do with my release aid. So
interesting.
Mine's the same too, but for a different reason. I anchor more up towards the corner of my mouth, but with a compound, I shoot incorrectly, and I shoot a pretty high front shoulder. And then with the recurve, I'm the opposite. I shoot it the more correct way, quote unquote, with a low shoulder. So it ends up being about the same.
All right. From Harrison Tanner, is the solid grip trigger worth it? I did a podcast today with Cody Greenwood and Dwayne Martin about triggers. I think for training, triggers are really good. You want to make sure you have an exit strategy. They're not keeping them on forever because you can become kind of a slave to the trigger or get clicker panic. The solid grip trigger I use more for anything than keeping my grip consistent. When people get that, they'll call me and say, hey, I can't get this thing to operate right. It's clicking inconsistently. That would be the user, not the grip trigger. That means your grip is inconsistent. So it really helps keep you honest in a consistent grip for me as much as anything.
All right, I've got one from Sojourn_DB. What are trends in the trad community that you find annoying?
Throat clickers would definitely be something that I would find annoying. I would say probably, and I just like that the sport is growing, but I think that people could be a little bit more realistic with their groups at times, like being a little bit more honest, like showing your misses and your hits would be one thing. And so I guess some of the other kind of trends would be heavy FOC, extreme FOC. That might be a trend that nobody wants to lob logs downrange. When I say that, meaning there's a few guys out there pushing 800 grain arrows that are shooting hogs under feeders. An 800 grain arrow at an animal that's a consistent known distance, I see no problem with that. But if you're hunting in the high country, whether it be for mule deer or sheep or oudad or whatever, lobbing an 800 grain arrow is just not one. It's not needed. I personally, I can't speak for everybody on here, but I'm shooting a 570 to 620 grain arrow right now. It's 570. I've zipped through everything I've shot at, including buffalo, with decent amount of point weight and not going too crazy. So I'd say that crazy 800 grain arrow trend and extreme FOC is another one. Do you guys got anything that pops up?
No, I mean, Go ahead, Rob.
No, I would agree with you on the FOC thing. To each his own. You'd hate to see somebody come in and picking up bad information, but yeah, the FOC thing sometimes makes me chuckle a little bit.
Well, I mean, I've played. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I interrupted.
No, I was just going to say I've played around with high FOC just to test stuff, and it becomes a little bit of a, I guess I'm kind of anal about stuff, but it becomes a little bit of a tuning nightmare once you get to a certain point. And in order to get extremely high front of center and still not shoot a 700 grain arrow, that means you have to shoot a really light grains per inch arrow, and therefore you have to shoot a brittle arrow. So it feels like it's kind of defeating the entire purpose of some of Ashby's rules, just the way that I think, because I don't want to shoot a 700 grain arrow. So if I want 23% FOC, I've got to shoot a really, really light arrow and load up the point weight. And then my arrow's super brittle. So it's, I would rather shoot a moderately, moderate FOC with a more durable arrow, and seems to be a lot easier to tune also.
Yep. I concur. As I say that, I just think that I talked about this on the video with Elk Shape and multiple other podcasts. Generally, what I've found kind of paying attention to some of this is somebody shooting a 380 to 400 grain arrow with a mechanical. They hit a deer, an animal. They get horrible penetration. They start searching heavy arrow research. They dive into this, what the ranch fairy is what I'm talking about, kind of rabbit hole where he's a member of the Aspie Foundation. He pushes this 800 grain arrow thing a lot. And then they do that and they shoot a deer at 20 yards. Of course, the 800 grain arrow blows through. And now it's like they found Jesus. They won't shut up about it. The thing is there's a happy medium in there. And I would say, that happy medium is in that 9 to 10 grains per inch range on a stick bow. Nothing going on a little bit heavier, a little bit lighter, but I think that you are giving things up when you go to one end of the spectrum or the other. And I'll just take, because we all hunted Audad together, there's not a snowball's chance in hell I would ever hunt spot and stock Audad with an 800 grain arrow, knowing you might need to take a 30, 35, 40 yard shot. Rob, you killed yours at 40, pinwheeled it. Trying to shoot that distance with an 800 grain arrow is like firing, rebar down range, and it's just not needed.
No. And I ate some backstrap last night. She was cool with my FOC.
Yeah. Well, you blew her through straight through the scapula at 40 yards, and nothing wrong with Rob's height, but he's not exactly the tower of power. I mean, what is your draw length?
I actually have a pretty decent draw length. It's 28.5 to 29.
You get the idea. You're not firing a 31, 32 inch draw length.
No.
You're like the rest of us, 28 to 29. And you zip through the scapula on that thing at 40 yards.
That severed her offside leg. You remember that? That was freaking devastating.
I do
with a
remember
wide
that, 'cause
cut.
when I see things like that, I think, my God, I can't believe you did this without an 800 grain arrow, because I'm a cynical smartass. So yeah, I do remember that.
That was devastating. So, hey, I got a quick one. I think Blake passed over it, but I think it's important to back up a little bit. Who at Blackwidow would be more scared? Who would you be more scared to fight at Blackwidow, Miles or Toby? A fist fight.
Oh, Miles.
All righty.
Well, now keep in mind,
That was an awful quick answer,
I'm
Toby.
not scared to fight. Yeah, I'm not scared to fight both of them at the same time. But if I had to choose between the two, Miles is a wiry little spider monkey. I mean, he could end up on the back of my neck, choking the shit out of me and gouging my eyes out. While I'm still thinking about, hey, nobody said go. He's a quick little guy.
Well, he's a bullfighter, so I'm thinking his strategy would be just to wear you out. He would exhaust you, running circles around you, and then he'd have his way with you.
Potentially. I mean, he's used to jumping over bulls, so jumping over the top of my fat ass shouldn't be a problem if I shoot on a double leg.
All righty, moving right along.
All right. All right. In your opinions, what is the single most addictive thing about traditional archery hunting? Go ahead, fellas.
For me, it's a little bit different for me because it's pretty much all I've ever done. So it's just the challenge, the simplicity. Probably just wrap it up with that, just the simplicity and challenge.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I don't want to paint this like I was the world's greatest compound shooter or anything like that, but I could shoot a compound well, and just the addictive nature of hitting a spot because of how difficult it is and how much work you have to put into it with the stick bow. That's what keeps me engaged in it. With the compound, I'd get lazy, put down my bow for a couple, 3 months and pick it back up. And, it's kind of, I guess, for lack of a better word, kept me more engaged in archery year round, just because you have to. And, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. For me, I would say, coming from a background of shooting things way too far away, if you put in the work, as I first say that, there's nothing funner other than maybe sex than stump shooting. You can't do it with a compound. There's nothing like grabbing a quiver full of arrows and just going winging arrows. It's stumps and pine cones and crap. It's very simplistic as far as your gear. But the root of it for me, there's something to be said when you stalk in, sub 20 yards into an animal's living room, and you beat him in his own game, and then take him down or whatever with a primitive weapon, or not using technology to carry you through, which 100% is why I started shooting a stick bow, was because I got a bunch of hate mail about letting technology, I was a better hunter because of technology, which is 100% true. I was using technology to carry me, where now my hunting skills and abilities are carrying me, and you have a lot more sense of a reward, or sense of accomplishment. I don't know what you want to call it. When you whether it be a doe, buck, forked horn, giant bull, whatever, when you get that close and you're truly putting your skills against the animals and not technology. That's a long-winded answer, but there you go.
All right. M. Smelser, cause and effects of adjusting tiller on ILF, when and why, the when and why, if that makes sense.
You guys want me to handle this one?
I do.
Yeah.
All right. So when you talk about tiller, an even tiller would be when the limbs are, or let's just say, bottomed out and are even. So if you measure from the limb pocket to the string, they're both at 7 inches. When you start talking about positive and negative tillers, Generally, what that will be is, let's say if you're shooting 3 under, you're going to need to take some pressure off of one of the limbs, so they are compensating, meaning if you are putting more pressure on the bottom limb from shooting 3 under, you can even out that amount of pressure by backing out the limb. I personally shoot even tiller and adjust it with the knock point. I shoot like 5/8 knock high. But you can also, if let's say you have one limb that's firing a little heavier than the other, which can happen. Not all the limbs are perfect. You can even that out by backing out one of the limbs to even them up. If you're getting a little bit of knock high or low that you can't take out, you can adjust that with a tiller. So as far as when and why and all of that, it really just depends on your own form. The limbs you have, are they a good set of limbs that are built almost identical? Are you releasing down, putting a little bit extra pressure? You can equal all those things out with the ILF system on the tiller. Here's one from Amp 713. Can a knock high tear happen from too low of a knock height? Yes, 100%. In fact, some of the worst knock high tears I've seen were actually coming out of a bow that was knock low, because you get a false read, because the arrow fires off the string, bounces into the shelf, and then blows straight knock high. So it's a false read. You're actually knock low, and you need to adjust, up quite a bit depending on how bad the tear is if you're bouncing off that shelf. So you definitely can. Selway slide on versus strap on quiver. Pros and cons. Which do you prefer on a Blackwidow PSA? Now, for me, I like the strap on quiver, but I would say probably as a whole, most people prefer the slide on. But I do like the strap on quiver, especially they've upgraded the straps. They're quite a bit better now. So I really do like that strap on, but I'd say most people are probably shooting that slide on.
Yeah, I would say the benefit
Go ahead, fellas.
the benefit to the strap on is you don't have to unstring your bow to take the quiver off, and yeah, I like that.
You don't have to slide it over the clicker if you're using one.
There you go.
If someone was listening in that didn't know what we were talking about, we have said strap on a lot in the last 45 seconds. Let's see here.
If you're tuning in live, we're talking about quivers.
New to the game. This is from Mountain Whitetail. New to the game, without a doubt, in love. I'd like to hear a little about arrow setups. Mountain Whitetail, I would say that is an extremely broad question, and I'm not sure where you would even want us to start, other than start, I would say, roughly 9 to 10 grains per inch, depending upon, or excuse me, if you're shooting, let's say
grains
50
per pound.
pounds, you want to be at least 500 grains. Yeah. So not per inch, per pound. But be around 10 grains per pound. And then I would say you want to be roughly 225 to 250 total grains up front. You don't have to have that, but that's a kind of a good, you go a little less or a little more. Back in the day, I think guys were probably shooting 125 grains up front and getting it done. So not that giant of a deal, but I think that 225 to 250 is a good kind of base to start at. You guys have anything to add to that?
No, I think it's good, solid. And there's tons of information out there. You did a common. You came on and did a common questions. Gosh, way down the list, probably a year and a half ago, and there's still some gold in there. Just scroll down the list of Stickbow Chronicles and look for an episode, Common Questions. And you did a video on one recently, didn't you, Aaron?
I've done several.
Yeah,
I've done several.
Tons of information out there.
Yeah, but Kifaru Cast has a bunch of different arrow setup videos, and there's tons of other ones on there as well. So let's see. Tyler, Emmy. Will a 45-pound recurve go through a deer's shoulder? So scapula, not the knuckle, it won't. I would say with really good arrow flight and cut on contact, broadhead, I think you would get through one side of the scapula with a 45-pound. I'm not saying count on it, especially if the one of the issues with the Ashby theory, they were shooting dead animals. When an animal shifts really hard or rockets out or his front leg shifts as your arrow hits, that really kills momentum. But if you just stuck a deer there and shot it in the golden triangle scapula area, I'd say you may not get a pass through, but you're going to go through at least one side of it with a real sharp on contact head. Why I say that, don't aim at the scapula with a 45 pound, but I think you'd probably go through. Let's see, from M.E_outdoors. What weight arrow for a 50-pound Satori? I would say for a 50-pound Satori, you minimum 550 grains, depending upon your draw length. If you had a 28 or 29-inch draw and you're shooting 550 to 575 grain arrow, you're going to be shooting 170-ish feet per second to 180. Plenty of speed and plenty of momentum with that. I'm about 16th through my questions. So, guys, if you got any more, go ahead.
Here you go. Keto Cajun asks, will Aron's competitive spirit have him wrap his bow around a tree if the kid outshoots him at the best of the best? And by the kid, he means Daniel Collins, the prodigy.
Yeah. No. I mean, I hate to lose, but I'm a very, well, as I say that, if you start talking shit, believe me, I got a PhD in it. But no, I'm definitely, I mean, I just want to shoot against Dan and Dwayne and guys like that because to see how I stack up against them. But no, I mean, if he beats me, I mean, shit, he's staying at my house. Like, son, he's gonna beat me. I'm gonna leave him there. No, I just want him to shoot his best and me to shoot my best and see where the cards lay at the end of the day. I guess I say if I shoot bad, I might be a little bit depressed about myself not shooting to my ability, but I'm not a crybaby loser. I'm chalk it up, go home, practice, to rub some dirt in your crotch and move on. I mean, losing's losing. Just do the best you can. So I don't really I don't do the crybaby thing. I have seen some major meltdowns from ground tuning your bow. I believe my wife, who is behind me, may have thrown her bow on the ground in the turkey blind before. I do not do that. She said whatever. That totally happened, by the way.
It was in the ground blind, though. Does that count?
If it was in a ground blind and nobody saw it technically does not count. Okay. I think I came back with, what the F, are you 12 years old? Pick your bow up. She was getting frustrated. You got any more?
All right. Rife Jason says, no question, just a big thanks to you and Aron for the arm guard promoting. I appreciate it. That was the guy who made the cool Stickbow Chronicles arm guard. Right on, Jason.
Yeah, he does some nice work, too.
Yeah.
Let's see. What hunt are you most excited about in 2021?
Well, that was going to be brown bear, but I think that's gotten shit on. So I would say, other than hunting with my really good friend Rob, probably mountain goat. I'm going in with Brady Redderith on a 10-day backpack hunt for mountain goat, and I'm looking. I think he's bringing a gun, which is good because that means I have all the time in the world. But I'm hoping he'll get it on. We can get it on film, kind of document the adventure. It's pretty crazy backpack hunt we're going on. So that's probably one of them. Now, if I get an elk tag that I'm trying to get, that would be right up there with the mountain goat. I did not draw my high country mule deer tag, so I will be hunting Eastern Plains, Colorado. Instead, but I would say out of all those, that mountain goat hunt's going to be pretty crazy.
Heck yeah.
All right, you got to hunt one state for the rest of your life with the stick bow only. Which state and why?
Colorado.
Idaho for all
Colorado.
Definitely Idaho. Actually, California. Get on down there, hunt them pigs and bears. When you're done, move up to Washington, another great hunting state. Oregon would be in third. Idaho, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, those states suck. Don't go there.
California's got some great bear hunting.
They do. They do. Yeah, California, everybody, move there, especially if you voted for Biden. Get your ass to California, please. Let's see here.
And all you commie bastards, stay the hell out of Texas.
Here's a good one because this one is a common question I get. Is 70 pounds too heavy to learn the fundamentals of trad? I shoot 75-pound compound. Should I go lower? My current trad bow is a 70-pound bear my grandfather gave me. This is from Logie Bear 23111. Yes, 70 is way too much weight. Do not try to shoot that. I wouldn't even try and hunt with that thing. That's just too much weight, man. Keep it on the wall, save it. Put it on the mantle. Even if you drew 95 pounds, which I do with a compound, 57, 58 is about as good as I get, and I draw heavy weight back with a compound. I really wouldn't push it over 55 to 58 pounds on a stick bow. You're just asking for problems, not just with form, but potentially shoulder issues and things like that, but definitely form. I'm sure there's some guys out there listening in saying I shoot 70 pounds fine. I'm proud of you. Rob and Blake are proud of you, but I wouldn't do it. It's just not something I think is worthwhile, and you certainly don't need it. Let's see. Hunt, Fish, Brew. Recommended fletching jig for trad vanes. Probably the best fletching jig for trad vanes is the Aero Master. That is an expensive piece of equipment, so I would say the next one would be the Bitzenberger. If you get a Bitzenberger, I have guys comment a lot on the small bases on the trad vanes. That's what we had to do to make them flexible. You might have to file down the jig in the front or the back of the Bitzenberger to get full contact, but if you mess with a little bit, it's not an issue. You can get them to stick, but I would say the Vane Master Pro by Last Chance is definitely the best.
Have you tried the Arizona Easy Fletch?
I have. I don't think there's anything wrong with that Arizona Easy Fletch, but it's a tough one to start out with if you aren't crafted at putting the right amount of glue, because you're going to glue the clamp to your arrow. But if you're good at that and you can lay that fine bead down, that Arizona is a badass option.
Well, I struggled with the Pittsburgher, and then I got that Arizona Easy Fletch, and what I do is take bowstring wax and just throw bowstring wax on the inside there. So if you do get any glue, it's not an issue. I'm cranking them out now with that thing.
And Rob, go into that in more detail. Like, which model did you get? Things like that. What glue are you using? Because I get a ton of fletching questions, and I personally, if I had a choice, if I can get that Arizona to work, and as you're telling me that, Rob, I may try it again. I'd buy 4 Arizona Easy Fletchers and just fletch until my heart's content while I'm watching TV.
Are you waiting on me?
Yep.
Yes.
So when you order the Easy Fletch, you got to choose between I think the standard and a carbon shaft one, because the diameter is inside there is different. But so I got the carbon one, and those, it's pretty self-explanatory when you open it up where that where the base sits in there. I just take and lay some bowstring wax in there, and then I use the fast set gel and. Gosh, what's the stuff that you put on the pre stuff?
Accelerator.
Yeah, accelerator. I always use wraps because it just seems to be glue just seems to adhere to it easier. And man, it's been a game changer for me for sure. And I don't use that very often, game changer, but yeah.
One question: Can you? And it's been a long time since I've used one. I used one back in the day, but can you adjust your basically the distance from the back of your vane to the back of the shaft?
Yeah, that's a good point. No, I would say no. That'd be a hard no.
Okay.
No, that's a good point.
Pro tip,
very hard.
Pro tip for the Bitzenberger, and Aaron, I don't know if you do this too, but don't bottom the vane out on the clamp. leave about 1/16 of an inch of the vein hanging out of the bottom of the clamp when you fletch them. Just makes life a lot easier because that base is so small. There's not a whole lot of real estate down there to work with. So I leave just a little bit of the vein hanging out. And, I've seen a lot of people say that they have issues with the Bitzenberger and trad veins. And if you file the front of the clamp down, like Aaron said, or leave the bottom of the vein hanging out just a little bit and set your jig right, I've never had any issues with it whatsoever.
Same. All right.
Same.
Here. Let's see. RN Farley, what do you think the future of traditional archery looks like? Great to see it growing. Appreciate everything you guys do. I think the future of traditional archery is looking good. I think it's going to continue growing, and I think in 5 to 10 years that the way that things are going and some of the podcasts and all the different things going on, kind of spreading the word, I think there's going to be a much larger shift than people anticipate with people going to a stick bow in comparison to compounds. Not saying compounds are always going to, I think anyway, obviously going to be way dominant. But I think the stick bow community or traditional archery community is growing like crazy. I think that's going to continue.
We tend to focus on a very small minority that's vocal, one way or another with all the new folks coming in. I just came back from the Western States Rendezvous and there's 250 registered shooters. There was probably 300, maybe 350. And we had, Dick Robertson, Gene Wenzel, Scott Kelzer. There was a whole bunch of the old school folks and tons of the new crowd. The Bridget Roman, they're pretty much made up of the new guys. And, man, it was awesome. You had, opposite ends of the spectrum, and it was great. So I think the future's dang bright.
Blake, how's the future looking down in that great state of Texas?
I mean, I don't know that I've been in it long enough to really be able to speak too much on it, but just from what I've seen since I've been in it, it's certainly growing at a pretty rapid rate. I think one thing that Rob and I notice, and I know Aaron notices it too, is constantly getting messages from compound folks that listen in on the podcast, and it lights a fire in them. And, we got a message, I believe earlier this week or last week, from a guy who stumbled on the podcast accidentally and listened to, 1 or 2 episodes and sold all his compound stuff and ordered a stick bow. And, I've gotten poo-pooed on recently for having a compound guy or two on the podcast. And I just want to say that number one, those guys are my friends a lot of times, and they're good hunters. And the reason that, one of the reasons that it's applicable is not only are they good hunters despite the equipment that they use and they have good information, but when they post that podcast on their feed or on their story and all the people that follow them see it, and they think, oh, hell, I love listening to Tony or whoever it is. Tony Treach is just the most recent one. I love listening to Tony. I'm going to go check that out. And they come and check it out. Well, then they see that, right under it, there's an episode with Aaron Snyder. They recognize that name. They click on the episode. They listen to it. Well, then we're talking about stick bows and how awesome they are and this and that. And then, a month later, they've listened to 15 or 20 episodes, and now they're messaging us, asking us to, for advice on how to start their stick bow journey, for lack of a better word. And, I think that, I think the future's bright, just personally. And I think what we're doing is working. Big bunch of credit goes to Rob and Aaron, who've been, obviously doing this a lot longer than I've been around. So, that's kind of a long-winded answer, but that's how I feel.
Gotcha. Let's see. From Matt, something I can't pronounce. Micro diameter arrow, pros and cons out of a stick bow. I would say the only potential con is some of the component systems for micro diameters can be a little bit of a pain in the butt. Other than that, I don't know that there is a con. You guys go ahead if you want.
No, same. I mean, there's certainly some pros to micros, but the big negative is always and will always more than likely be components. There's a few good systems out there, Iron Will, Valkyrie, to name a couple, but those are proprietary systems. If you're going to shoot those component systems, you've got to shoot those broadheads, and that's kind of the pitfall of it. If you're cool with shooting one broadhead and one brand of broadhead, I think it's kind of the way to go personally. But if you're more like to switch stuff around, the 204 ID is my personal favorite for all around just everything. I really like that platform.
So, anything, Rob?
No, I'm good. You guys covered that. I got one here. I'm not sure who it's from though. Matt Mora. When should someone switch super curve limbs from standard ILF limbs?
I don't know that you should. There's some negative sides to super curve limbs. When I say super curve, it looks like an elf toe, right? A crazy curvature on it. The thing you gain from a super curve is speed, which, and I've done a few podcasts talking about this. If you're already shooting decent speed, I don't know that the lack or maybe loss in some of forgiveness from a super curve, as well as maybe the bumpy road syndrome, sometimes there's a little hand shock with those is needed. If you've got a short draw, I would say that definitely, or got to pull fairly low poundage, the super curve is definitely a good thing to look at. But I don't know that there's a need to go to super curve for this guy specifically without knowing what his draw length and everything else is and poundage and things like that. All right. Solid archery mechanics worth the $200 or other good free resources to start. I would say to start. I mean, there's tons of podcasts and things like that, but I personally I suggest Solid Archery Mechanics for $200 because it's going to save you a lot of trials and tribulations. The info is good. You're not getting crappy data or crappy info from somebody on the internet that may not be giving you the best. The Solid is pretty handy, so I do suggest it. Go ahead, guys.
No, I was just going to say the same. I mean, the Solid Archery Mechanics online deal wasn't out whenever I started, but I did spend some time with Tom one-on-one, and I mean it's invaluable information starting out. So yes, I would definitely buy a little bit cheaper bow, or skimp on something else. Maybe don't buy beer for a couple weeks or whatever, and buy the damn course.
I wouldn't get carried away with the beer thing, bro.
It's a bad example.
Check yourself.
As I say that.
No, I agree. Like, so, what do you spend on a dozen arrows when you get them all put together, even on lower end arrows? I mean, you're talking.
We don't talk about those things out loud, Rob.
Well, the door's
not around.
The door's closed. But seriously, and you have that course for life. So now I would recommend it.
Yeah. All right. From Joel Moore, 87. Can someone start on a 65-pound trad bow? Yes, but I would definitely not do that. I don't, even if you're the Incredible Hulk. Maybe, what's the dude with all the rings on his hands from, the Hulk, and what's the guy with the rings on Avengers? Beat the shit out of the Hulk. Thanos could do it. Joel, I do not believe you can. So get a 40-pounder to start out with 45, 65. I don't know anybody that other than Tex Grebner that shoots over 55, 60 pounds. I mean, it's 65 is a lot of weight.
Yeah, and just getting started, if you want to go super low and it's not going to be something you hunt with, you don't want to spend a bunch of money, like RMS gear or the footed shaft, there's places that do consignment. And you can pick up some lower end bows, just the weight to work and get solid form.
Yeah, they have I don't know if the Footed Shaft has the same program, but he might. But you can do with the Sam Sage trade-in deals where you buy the bow, you can trade the limbs in as you get used to more and more poundage, and you feel where you're comfortable. Order you a Blackwidow or something, and you can get your favorite custom bow with the colors you want, and know that you're getting the poundage you're comfortable with. And again, the Footed Shaft and Rocky Mountain Specialty Gear both offer consignment bows. Same thing. Buy yourself a $350 to $500, 40-pound bow. Shoot it for a while and sell it back to those guys. They'll sell it for you and get another bow. That's kind of the beauty of the Footed Shaft and Rocky Mountain, that they work with you like that. Here's one that I'm not going to talk about. We're just going to point them to a podcast. Pioneer Outdoors standard method tuning with arrows. Get on Kifaru Cast, watch the videos I've done on there, or go to the Stickbow Chronicles. What episode was that, Rob?
Oh gosh, common answer to common questions.
You gotcha. All right, Pat Boat. At what point do you think an arrow is too light and too heavy? That depends on your draw length, your weight you're shooting. But I would say when you've gone to plaid, for example, and I'm just going to use a 28 to 29 inch draw length. If you're shooting a 28 to 29 inch draw length, I would say below 540 grains would be starting to get maybe on the too light side, although there's plenty of guys that shoot lighter. Randy Cooling shoots a 490 grain arrow, but say 550 round numbers plus or minus. And then I would say getting over 6 to 625, you're starting to get maybe too heavy. Those are general numbers. You can go a little bit lighter than that or a little bit heavier than that, but I'd say that's your wheelhouse for me. I don't know where you guys are at with that.
Ditto.
Yeah, I would say that's a solid info. I just had a question from a buddy that came across the text. Are there any plans to change the Hellcat? He was asking me that this weekend. I'm glad he reminded me. I was supposed to ask you, Aaron. So here you go.
I don't know about change the Hellcat, but we will eventually come out with just a couple brand new lumbar packs. They may not be, or they may be, I'm not sure, variations of the Hellcat, but I don't think we're going to change the Hellcat. We are going to change and come out with 2 new lumbar packs off of the feedback we've got from the Hellcat, the Scout, and all the different other lumbar packs we've had.
How soon, or you got a due date on that?
Negative. We aren't going to mess around with lumbar packs for a little bit. We did those limited runs of the Hellcat and the Scout and the Tail Gunner. There's still a few of them left, and that's kind of what we're going to stick with for now. We've got some other obstacles we're tackling as far as new products, and then those will be after that. All right, I've got a 3-part question here from Anthony Bongard. Part 1, what the cost dollar compared to compound bow, entry, mid, flagship? Don't answer with smart ass comment about time it takes to be good. We know time. You know what? I'm going to skip this because I really don't know what this guy's asking. I'm still confused. All right. Alex Duro Hunter. Aaron, have to overcome your Jesus, boys, you need to work on this. I can barely read, and that's when if you
It's like Rob. It's like Rob's talk to text.
Yeah. How did I overcome getting my hand coming away from my face? Just drilling with a lightweight bow, going back and forth for my heavy bow. So I would shoot up against a wall, or not up against necessarily a wall. I actually put a tripod up to where I had a rod coming off the tripod, and when I come off my face, it would hit that, and it would be a reminder. So I worked on that with a really lightweight bow. Then I worked up with my hunting bow, and I've gotten a lot better. I still have issues with it, but it's quite a bit better just by just drilling, working on drills for keeping your hand close to your face. You guys got any more questions?
There's a few more. I'll throw you another Kifaru one. Is the tut coming back?
I cannot talk about that.
All righty, strucken from the record.
Path.
So back to you, Aaron.
See.
Oh, sorry. You said you had a few more. You threw me off there. You rookerized me. I have seen you and Cody talk about blended strings, i.e. X99 in comparison to 8125. What are the differences? Man, it's going to be long-winded, so try to keep it as simple as I can. I had some limb issues on some different bows, and I was shooting a blended string. When I say limb issues, I had multiple different limbs cracked from different bows. And keep in mind, I shoot more than anybody I know. We kind of dissected this. We ended up getting a hold of the engineer at Hoyt and found that Hoyt did a very in-depth study with different string materials and blended string, meaning X99, Mercury, 452X, 452 Premium, things like that, don't have, I guess I would say, give, even though that's not the right word, in comparison to a Dynaflight 97 or an 8125. I personally have switched all to 8125 myself, or Dynaflight 97, and I haven't had any limb issues since. I don't really notice maybe but a couple feet per second difference going with an 8125. Also, 8125 is more durable. Now, 8125 compared to Dynaflight 97 is the same type of material, and I'm not a string expert. I just pretend to be. 8125 is just smaller diameter per strand than a Dynaflight 97. So I end up shooting 8125, and when I say that, meaning all strings need to be built correctly. The base build of a string, all the different, as you're building the string, whether it be a Flemish or an endless loop, they need to be all tensioned equally when you build it, and they need to be pre-stretched. With 8125 or Dynaflight 97, you may lose a couple feet per second, but I think in the long run, your limbs will like you more for running that. What it boiled down to on the Hoyt study, and trying to remember, to get to 1,000 dry fires on a bow, it took 16 sets of limbs with a standard like 8125 string to get to 1,000 dry fires. It took 50 sets of limbs with blended string. And so that's a pretty significant difference.
Yeah.
So I just looked at it. I don't, you shoot whatever you want. It's just not worth the risk to me because you don't gain much from running a blended string other than a couple feet per second. And so whether it's true or not, in the sense of when I say true, obviously Hoyt study's true, but whether it makes a difference or not, I don't know, but it is not worth the risk. And I also get a lot more string life out of 8125. All right, next one. When looking at a bow and a length in general, what should I be purchasing with 28-inch draw? So I've got a P. Do you guys want to go into this as far as string pinch and things like that in accordance to your draw length? And I'll be right back. Okay, sounds
What was
good.
the question again?
So I'll
pay attention.
I got it. The kid was over there picking his nose. Never mind. Yeah, I got it. I would say, personally, 28-inch, 28-inch draw is kind of on the cusp. I like a shorter bow. Shoot a Blackwidow, a 58-inch. I shoot a 58-inch PCH, and I don't have a problem with finger pinch. Like I said, I'm drawing 28 and a half. I shot a Tolkien Chinook for a long time. It was in a 58-inch model. But I don't know. Can you jump in on, like, to me, anything over 28 and a half ish, you got to look at the bow manufacturer and how their limbs are opening up. It's kind of on the cusp there to go to a 60-inch bow.
I've got a 28-inch draw, and I've shot anywhere from a 56-inch bow all up to a 62-inch bow. And I will say that I see a difference in forgiveness going to a 60 or 62-inch bow over a 56 or 58-inch bow. Obviously, there's applications where a 56 or 58-inch bow is going to work better, ground blinds, things like that. Thick brush. I in my opinion, the advantages are kind of minimal. But for me, at a 28-inch draw, which I'm like 27 and 7/8 or something like that is what my draw length is, I want a minimum of a 60-inch bow personally. And I can shoot the difference between a 60, 62-inch and a 56, 58. It's not much. It's not just, night and day difference, but it does make a difference. There's a reason why a lot of these target guys are shooting, 70, 72-inch bows, and it's because it's easier to get off the string. It's more consistent, more forgiving. So take that for what it's worth. I think it's application specific. If you're a ground blind guy or hunting off the ground all the time, go as short as you can deal with. Hunting really tight quarters, at 15 yards, probably not going to make that much difference. But for me personally, at a 28-inch draw, I would stick in that 60 to 62-inch range.
Do you want to explain finger pinch?
Yeah, so it's just the angle of the string with a shorter bow. That angle in the back is going to be steeper. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that where people can kind of visualize it, but just figure a triangle, and the end of the triangle or the corner of the triangle that your fingers are hooked on with a shorter bow is going to be a smaller angle. So it's going to pinch your fingers a little bit, and it's going to be less forgiving getting off the string. With that angle being larger with a longer bow, there's not as much pinch there, and it's just easier for your fingers to get out of the way and get off the string.
Probably less torque, right? Less likely to torque the string.
Yes, I don't know about that. I'm not real sure about that. That'd be maybe a Cody or an Aron question, but that's kind of my 2 cents. So if you're right in there at 28, I would personally look at a 60-inch bow, and even go 62. If you don't mind a 62, go 62. Just my thoughts.
Man, Aron must have really had to go.
Back.
All right, there he is.
No, I grabbed a bottle of Garrison Brothers whiskey to lighten the mood.
Ooh.
So I've taken a couple shots of that while I was listening to you, Jack Wagons. I'm ready to roll.
Here we go.
How long have we been going here?
118.
All right, I've saved 10 really good questions for last. You guys will knock these 10 out and call her good?
Sure.
You bet.
Okay, so some of these are pertaining to me, which you two can chime in because you're friends with me, which this one's kind of funny. So Aron watched you for years, and I don't consider you arrogant, but I have definitely seen multiple people say you are arrogant. Do you feel it's just confidence in the way that you handle things and it's needed? Rob, you've talked before. You've actually made fun of me for being arrogant more than one occasion. I would say that it's just my personality. I'm extremely confident. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but you don't want to be, not that I'm a guidance counselor for God's sake, but to do some of the different hunts that I go on and some of the certain things, I personally have to have that confidence level in my brain that comes across as arrogance to help carry me through or to help push me through. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. And I try not to be, there's times I'm arrogant on purpose as being an asshole, but I try not to be arrogant and just be confident, meaning I try to help others as much as I possibly can, and I try to, let my downfalls come out as much as my strong points. But I think you should go into everything with confidence that you're going to be able to achieve the goal you're going after, and just do your best that it doesn't come across as arrogant. And at times it certainly does for me, but I would probably say that I'm overly confident more than arrogant. But either way, it's me, and if people don't like it, I totally get it. But it's just how I approach things to try to complete whatever task is in front of me. Rob, you probably have a totally different answer because you've made fun of me for this.
Well, I did, especially when I first, kind of, quote unquote met you. But I would say, like, yeah, at face value, you don't know you. Like, at first you hear you a couple times, you might come across as arrogant, but once you get to know you, like, exactly right. I mean, yeah, you're just a confident guy, and I've seen firsthand you can back it up. So fire away, man. I'm good. I'm good with it.
I think that's important, that if you are overly confident or borderline arrogant, that you need to make sure that your skill set is at least at a level to back it up, because then you really do look like a jackass. But I think it's important, if you are overly confident or arrogant, however you want to look at it, it's important that you also let people know your downfalls, the misses that you have, the conundrums, the jackass moves that you make. Because while I'm confident, I also have screwed up some major things, not just in hunting, but in life. And, if I was overly arrogant, you would never see me post a miss, and I post misses all the time. I am that sense of humor that does probably come across as overly arrogant, but it's just my nature. At the same time, I'd give the shirt off my back to help people. And, but as I say that, I'm also behind Rob making fun of him for missing javelina and talking shit to Blake. So I think it's just people I've hung around and everything else. But if you're looking at it in a sense of how a person should move forward, I think you should have a high level of confidence in what you're doing or about to do. But also be ready to say, man, I need help, or I suck at this, or, you don't want it to go too far, because if you're overly confident, you're probably not going to be a person that asks for help either. So there's a fine line between confident and arrogant. You really don't want to cross that.
Well, I'll chime in, and I'll say, if and this is just me being honest, if I walked out on a 3D range and didn't know you from Adam, didn't know who you were, didn't know anything about you, and you and I shot together, I probably wouldn't like you for a while. I'm just going to be honest, just because, well, and I just because I think our personalities are, somewhat similar at times, but I think that's a good lesson for people, because I've had that happen. I've had people not like me off the bat and just make a, blanket statement like, I don't like that guy. And I'm guilty of it too. And you really don't know until you get to know somebody. And there is certainly a fine line between arrogance and confidence. But, like you said, I think one of the biggest tools that somebody can have in their toolbox is to be confident. And, you touched on it too. Also be honest on the flip side of that. So it's just, once you got to get to know somebody, I guess, be around them a little bit, and before you paint them with a brush.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I've lived with myself for working on close to 45 years now. So believe me, whatever comes across my plate never surprises me. If somebody was like, man, you're arrogant, there's probably some just cause for saying that. But, if even like picking up the stick bow, like I had to go into that with or me personally had to go into it with a high level, no quit attitude that I was going to get this done one way or another. And Clay Hayes, I just did a podcast with him. He said I was arrogant. And I'm like, well, dude, look what I've done in a short period of time. I'm not trying to be arrogant about that at all, but man, I had to have a pretty high level of confidence, because it's not like this is, we're not playing Foursquare. Like, this is a pain in the ass. Like, it takes a lot of work to be good at shooting a stick bow. And I'm sure others can do it without that high level of confidence somehow. But I can't, and it's just my, personality. So I get it where people are coming from, and I don't hold it against anybody. It's my personality. It's baked in the cake. I mean, it's no different than Rob is a naysayer on everything until he actually sees it with his own eyes.
Yep.
You got to love him for who he is, not who you want him to be. So while I laugh at Rob at times because he has to literally see it with his own eyes before he'll believe it, it's also what makes Rob who he is. And I'm the same way. I'm a overly confident guy, and I guess if people, I think you're asking me the question because you're accused of that as well. Just try not to cross that line of being arrogant and help others. And when you have downfalls, make sure and admit those. And if people don't like it, just move on and keep doing you. Rob, you're gonna have to edit that out.
It can work for me.
Well, didn't you say that Luke's one of your best friends, right? And whenever he first met you or was first around you, he didn't like you at all. And now y'all are, thick as thieves. And, I guess.
Let's rewind that story. 4 shit-talking MMA fighters in the range that would not shut up. And so, yeah, I was with them. They started it. And then I'm the one that got labeled as arrogant. I'm like, you guys to make fun of you. Just because I was the only guy that would stick up for myself in the range doesn't make me the bad guy. And so I remember it was like 2 giants. Kyle is like 6'4" and 260. Ian Berg, who's an unbelievable fighter, Luke, and some other guy. And they were talking crap, and they were by me. And so, yeah, I was throwing it back like, nice shot, Slick. Thank God you're a fighter for a living. I was minding.
Now we get the other side of the story.
You guys know me. Yeah, you guys know me well enough. I'm introverted. I just don't dive in and start talking to people. Well, if you want to have a battle of shit talking, I definitely have a PhD in that, and I will throw a brick if you throw a pebble. So Luke left all of that out. It wasn't like I just walked up and said, hey, you guys are losers. Like, they were poking at me, and so everybody else is scared to death of them. I'm like, fuck these guys. Make fun of them right back. And so I did, and now we're like best friends. He's like my brother, but that would be the whole story he left out.
I gotta jump in while we're talking about the personality that is Aron Snyder. Dude, I got my hat's off for you for staying grounded. I mean, we see it on social media all the time. I mean, you do some pretty incredible stuff. You're hunting, you're super successful, and you see people that just constantly throwing compliments your way. It's got to be tough to stay grounded, and I mean that sincerely.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to figure, Rob, one of the reasons I'm friends with you or a Blake or Frank or Clay Lancaster or Bart is you guys also are very good at keeping someone grounded, meaning, Rob, you're not afraid to throw your 2 cents in on something. And there's a couple people that I have in mind that, which you guys know. In fact, I may have to go visit one June 15th. If you surround yourself with people that only tell you how awesome you are, pretty soon you think that you can't make mistakes. And all of the people I listed are very good at telling me to F off and I'm an idiot and things that are very important. You got to surround yourself with people that are honest with you, not people that tell you your shit doesn't stink. And so I have made it believe me, Luke, I could shit gold and he'd find a way to make fun of it. He'd spend the money, but he'd still find a way to talk shit about it. And so I think it's important to surround yourself with people that not only bring you up in life, but also, keep you grounded at the same time. And I just look at it like that I got lucky, with different decisions I've made and people I've surrounded myself with. And, things worked out to where obviously I get to hunt a lot and practice, and the negative stuff I just kind of try to overlook. Occasionally I don't overlook it and I'll dive in and start making fun of somebody. I think there's a bear in the yard because my dogs are going crazy. Anyway, enough about me being arrogant. Next question.
No, I'm not done yet.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
Aron, just watched your video shooting in your yard at 3Ds. Appreciate you actually showing good and bad groups. At what point or timeline did it take for you to get accurate out to 40 yards, and what should I anticipate? I I would say, one, don't worry about the 40-yard thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't set. I got my head way wrapped up too much in shooting 40 to 50 yards when I first started, and most of my shots are feet to maybe 18 to 20 yards. I think it's important eventually, to shoot farther. Don't worry about distance. I would say worry about form initially. Worry, drilling, worry about shot execution, back tension, things like that. And the distance will come. But in reality, you're probably not, out of all the animals I've shot, and it's a lot, the majority of my shots, I'd say the average is 18 yards. And that's out of a few hundred animals with a stick bow. So while I was worried about 40, I've probably only shot 5 animals over 40 yards. One of them was with Rob. Not to say I won't take a 40-yard shot. I just generally try to get closer and closer. So other than talking about working on stalking skills, work on your form. Like I said, work on drilling, your mind, work on all of that, and the distance will come. And I would say Tom Clum nailed it. 3 years is what it'll take to hit your max potential. But I would say in 6 months with solid work, you'll be able to go hunt if you work at it. And when I say hunt, 25 yards and in. And with good stalking skills, there is no issue getting 25 yards or closer to most animals with a little work. And the distance will come. 40 yards to me is a shot that I will take under perfect conditions. But again, out of, I guess, what are we on now? 5 years of me shooting in a few hundred animals, 4 or 5 animals over 40 is not very, very many. I've even lowered my point on at this point to 34 yards because I just don't need that 40-yard shot very often. What do you guys think as far as that goes? Rob, I know you're kind of a 25-yard guy with the ability, if you need to shoot. Blake, I think you're more like me. You can reach out and poke them if you want, but why don't you guys throw your 2 cents in on that? And I'm going to drink a little more whiskey.
We better hurry up, Blake. Hurry up.
I don't. 40 yards is a long way for anybody.
Yeah.
I think it's important to. Aaron makes 40 yards look easy some days, and I'm guilty of posting stuff that makes 35 and 40 yards look a little bit easy some days. But there's some days where, it's 40 yards is a long damn ways with a stick bow, and I think there's a little bit of a false perception sometime, and I'm sure that I'm probably part of the reason that that's so, that 40 yards is kind of like where your goal should be. And I don't think that's the case at all. It's on an animal, 40 yards is a long, long shot, and things have to be pretty perfect for it to just all line up. So, if you can shoot well to 20, 25 yards, you're golden. That's where 95% of your shot opportunities are going to be. So that's what I would concentrate on, much like Aaron said. And then, as your ability gets better, having that 40-yard tool in your toolbox is a nice one to have every once in a while. But I certainly wouldn't make that the focus to get effective at 40 yards before you walk out. Because there's days where I miss my target in the backyard at 40 yards, and that's a long ways. 40 yards is a long shot.
Oh, you guys knocked it out of the park.
You know what really makes 40 yards come like full circle, like in your mind? Every time I go elk hunting, I start looking at things and think, okay, that is this distance. That is this distance. 40 yards in the woods compared to 40 yards on a 3D course, for whatever reason,
looks twice as far.
Farther. And
yep.
It's, Christ on a cracker. We're talking like, I'm like, oh, that's whatever. I'm like, Jesus, that's 32? Good Lord, that looks 45. And so, like I said, I've just recently changed my point on distance to a closer point on, because I just sheer numbers math. Over time, I've kept track of all the different animals I've shot and the distance, and it just doesn't make sense to have a 40-yard, point on. And Rob, you've killed a bunch of stuff. You're super comfortable to 25. You'll shoot farther than that, but what are your because you don't use a point on, you're an instinctive shooter. Give your thoughts on that as far as an instinctive shooting background.
We talked about it before, the go no go thing, and it really comes a lot.
I've seen it. I'm sorry.
You saw a lot. You saw a lot of no goes. Like, I ain't shooting that. And it's developed for me. So I'm an instinctive shooter. It's developed through a lot of stump shooting. I'm looking at something, a steep downhill, like that first Aoudad shot. I was super comfortable, and that was a long, steep shot. It comes just from, I guess it's probably different than what you guys do because you are gap shooting. You're looking at distances. For me, it's much more of a feel, but I like the fact that you guys led into it. Like, don't worry about 40 yards. It's an arbitrary number that's really unrealistic for a lot of people shooting a stick bow, and it's not necessary. I mean, Aaron, you've killed hundreds of stuff, and if you say your average is 18 to 20, I mean, that's legit.
Yeah, no, and that's important for people, to hear that. What am I trying to say here? The thing that I found myself because of the compound background was distance. I was so worried about distance and not worried about stalking skills, which was a failure on my part. Was, God forbid I become a better hunter, I'll just become a better shooter. And as I kind of dove into all this, I started to learn that, hey, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't worry about shooting 40 yards and just get my fat ass closer, like a real hunter would. And as I say that, I've had a little whiskey in me. I'm not saying you're not a real hunter if you shoot shit at 80 yards. I'm just saying that
we got to hurry up, Blake.
Personally was like alcohol. I know. That I shut up, Rob. That I should probably just work on getting closer rather than worry about shooting farther. And I think that's what people need to really look at, that the 40-yard shot, like you said, it's an arbitrary number. You just need to work on stalking skills and try and get closer and work on your form. That wasn't that bad of an answer, Rob.
No, it was awesome. Perfect.
Let's see here. Okay, this is the important one. Aaron, I know you've shot multiple different bows and recently did a bow review. You didn't really say if you were going to end up with the Blackwidow or the Hoyt Satori Uka combo. Can you give us our thoughts and what you're hunting with? This is actually a funny story. My wife gives me crap about this. What did I say? It was like finally getting a divorce with my... So my final decision, which was the Blackwidow, that's what I'm going to shoot this year. It came down to two things. One, obviously, as everybody, I've shot a ton of different 300 rounds, 20 and 30, 40 target 3Ds. The two major things that came in is, one, that Blackwidow is more of an extension of my body than any other bow I've shot, and I've had better luck with it. So I ended up shooting I end up choosing the Blackwidow. That is what I'm going to hunt with this year. I'm shooting better than I've ever shot. That Blackwidow is literally just an extension of my body. Nothing wrong with an ILF bow. Nothing wrong with the Satori. I love that bow. The Uka limbs are amazing. There's just something about when I put that Widow in my hand makes me feel more lethal. That's not something quantifiable. That's not something Cody Greenwood can run an algorithm on. I just feel more confident with that Widow in my hand when it comes down to business. Having said that, there's nothing wrong with any of the higher end, good quality bows on the market. Toby and Miles and Roger and the crew at Blackwidow were awesome. I have a great relationship with those guys. But I ended up choosing the Widow. I just feel more confident with it. I can shoot just as good or better with a Satori and Uka limbs. But when the rubber meets the road, and this is what I kind of, brought it back to, is what bow would I choose if I have a once in a lifetime shot at a brown bear, and whether it be a 35-inch Aoudad, a ram, a mountain goat, and I would choose the Blackwidow hands down every time. Doesn't mean I don't shoot the Satori as good, but there's something about mojo, and the Widow and I have had a lot of history, so the Widow is the one. And it's the G10 riser with the carbon limbs. It's 62 inches, 57 pounds. I'm shooting 300 spine X impacts with 300 grains up front. and I'm just shooting my ass off right now. So I'm super, super excited. What are you guys shooting?
That's a loaded question.
I'm shooting that Widow right now.
And loaded. I didn't drink that much alcohol.
I'm shooting the Widow. I'm shooting a 60-inch PSA G10 carbon. My bow is 60 at 28, and I'm drawing just shy of 28, so probably about 59 pounds. Shooting a deep impact with 250 grains up front, about 575 grains, and bare weather rest. And I'm shooting the crap out of that bow right now as well. So I don't see it. I've messed around with ILF stuff. There's a lot of pros to ILF stuff. For me personally, I just like a G10 riser with the simplicity of sticking a bare weather rest on it. I don't have rabbit holes to chase down when I'm having a bad day with the ILF bow. Having a bad day, getting wonky arrow flight, I'll start screwing with tiller and center shot and everything else, trying to correct something that isn't correctable on the bow. It's usually my own fault. So personally, I really, really like a G10 riser with a weather rest on it with no adjustable center shot, none of that. Once I get an arrow tuned out of it, I know it's flying good. If I go out one day and something's gone to hell in a handbasket, it's certainly not the bow. It's just me. And just like the simplicity of it combined with the, durability and performance with the carbon limbs. And, my first bow I owned was a Widow, and I shot the crap out of it as well. So just glad to be back in a Widow personally. Said it on here before, regardless of podcast affiliations, when Rob brought me on, I was pretty open to the fact that I was gonna shoot what I wanted, and told Toby the same thing, and tried the new bow, and I'm shooting it really well right now. So that's what I'm gonna roll with, and super happy with it.
Yeah, no, that was legit when we talked about you coming on, and you did say, "Hey, man, I'm going to shoot what I want," and that was the deal. You shoot what you want. I'm shooting a 58-inch PCH with the carbon limbs. I just talked to Toby today. I got the Asbill, a little modified Asbill grip on it, but the last few 3D shoots I went to, I shot with Rich Cody. And he's shooting an ILF, and I grabbed that riser and that handle. So took some pictures of it. I'm going to order it. I don't know what the heck it is, some kind of Jaeger grip or something. Took some pictures of it. I'm going to order that grip, send it to Toby, and I'm going to have him build me a new riser with that grip on it. But no, I'm super happy. Shoot that bow really, really well. And yeah, that's me. So I roll.
Here's where I'm going to come out sounding arrogant. I actually shoot your bow really, really well as well.
And here's what I'm going to say. You know what? He's right. You might call him arrogant, but I seen it.
You son of a bitch.
I've had a few people ask me about that, and I'm like, look, guys, it wasn't like I picked up a foreign object. It was a Widow. Yeah. I have hundreds of thousands of arrows through a Widow. And they were like, well, how did you hit it that far away? I'm like, well, I'd already killed one at 31, a little bit of deductive reasoning and a little holdover. It wasn't that far of a stretch to hit something at a farther distance that, if the first shot was the farther shot a little bit, there'd be a lot more luck involved. But when I shot that first hog, I knew I where I aimed. And so I'm like, okay, this arrow weight, all right, roughly, all right, it's this much drop. And so, it would have been different if it was a foreign object, but it was a Widow. So one of the many reasons why I've chosen the Widow is, you know what, when I drop off a 45-degree slope on an animal bedded down, again, they said your life depends on what bow are you choosing, I'm choosing a Widow. And for the reason I grabbed Rob's bow and killed a pig at 57 yards, I feel pretty damn confident with a Widow in my hand.
You arrogant bastard.
I know, right? On that note, I believe I'll drink a little more whiskey.
Well, we got to hurry. I'm questioning
I'm about to pour gas on this fire. I'm about to come up with my own questions.
And I'm looking at a bunch of editing.
It hasn't been that bad. Come on.
I'm my second 24 in, so I'm getting a little bit braver.
I got to be the adult in this group again.
That's the problem with me is it takes like a fraction of one finger of a shot for me to start talking mad shit. All right, let's see. I'm
Good stuff.
wheeling through these. One sec. Oh, here's a really good question, and it's something I've actually been working on. Aaron, I know you're a cutthroat and iron will guy, but what do you think about lower priced broadheads? So this is something, and actually this is because of Rob. One thing I really do, for coming from a poverty level construction background, is try to make sure people understand that there are other broadheads that work well, the different for high end broadheads and the mid grade or lower price broadheads. I recently got Magnus Stingers, Muzzy Phantoms, Magnus, Black Hornets, a few others, and compared those to the 3-blade Rocky Mountain Cutthroats as well as the Iron Wills. And what I did was, because of the Snyder core system with the X Impacts, I ordered Ethics components. I figured out my tune as far as the length of my arrow between the X Impacts with the Ethics components compared to the Iron Will Snyder core. And then I cut the arrows down, obviously, to where they both fly and hit exactly the same. So now I'm shooting 125 grain point to give me 305 grains with the Ethics components up front and 300 grains with the Snyder core. So what I did at that point, I tested consistency as far as groups, how they spin, durability, how long they stay sharp. Those are the big things. And if it were me, and guys are asking this question, you've got time, there is nothing wrong with setting up a Snyder core type system for your heavy hitter type hunts and using an Ethics component system with like that Black Hornet, to where you're not shooting, you're shooting turkeys or hogs or whatever with a lower end broadhead, and then the Snyder core for when the time counts, right? When the rubber meets the road for your once in a lifetime hunt. The biggest difference you're going to see, and I'd be interested to get your guys' feedback on this, you can shoot, depending upon what you hit coming out, 4 or 5 animals with a iron will before you need to resharpen it. Those things stay sharper longer in comparison. The Black Hornet for the money is a badass broadhead, and I picked that one up because of you, Rob, to try. It gets duller a lot faster. It doesn't quite have the durability that an iron will has. Consistency's not bad. I would say not bad is an understatement. The consistency on that Black Hornet as well as that Stinger is good, but they're not as durable and they don't stay as sharp as long, and they're not quite as sharp out of the package. So you may want to touch them up. Would I use, people ask me all the time, if I didn't get iron wills free, would I use them? Of course I would use them, but I would not use them for everything. Meaning I'm not going to fire a iron will wide at turkeys or javelinas. I say that if that's all I had, that's what I would shoot. But I would have 2 different broadheads. I would have a lower end broadhead, and then I would have the iron will or the cutthroat or whatever. I don't see any reason to have. No, there's nothing wrong with having 2 or 3 different broadheads tuned in and ready to go. But when you have something like a cutthroat or an iron will, a higher end broadhead, you do get what you pay for. It's just, is it needed? I'm running at the mouth now. Do you guys want to add any of that? Add to that?
I don't think you can add much more to that, because for me, I hate to see somebody that's just, it's like construction worker. You're living paycheck to paycheck. You want to go bow hunting. Don't think that you need, the best of the best. Like those broadheads you just rattled off. If that gives you an extra couple tanks of gas to get hunting, stay low end. When you can afford them, and when you're sheep hunting or elk hunting, and the benefit for me for the iron will is their edge retention, absolutely hands down, and it is super durable. But I'm just piling on what you said. I think you hit it out of the park.
No, nail on the head. Even though I get, I'm as big an iron will leg humper as there is. Bill's a good friend of mine. And even though I get these heads for free or discounted or whatever, if I'm going to go out hunting pigs at night and I know I'm probably about to shoot 10 or 12 arrows and probably lose 2 or 3 of them or 4 of them, I'm not taking iron wills. And generally, my go-to is usually a stinger. I've shot quite a few animals with a stinger. That's a really good head for the price. It's an aluminum ferrule. It's going to bend. If it bends or whatever, you can generally bend it back on the table, get it back spinning true. It's easy to sharpen back up. The Black Hornet, I haven't shot anything with the Black Hornet, so I can't really speak to that. But Magnus from the factory, I think they put their heads on a laser, make sure they spin before they put them in the package. So it's a great option. Again, I'm as big an Iron Wolf fan as there is, or Cutthroat, or whatever. I'm a big proponent of quality broadheads. But that being said, if you're down a price range, no, nothing wrong with a Magnus or a Simmons too. Simmons makes a good head also in that little bit lower price point.
Yeah, the Simmons are pretty. I've killed a ton of animals with the Simmons Tree Shark, which is my next question. Actually, it's about wide broadheads. Simmons makes an awesome option. I think that when people look at this, especially once you learn to tune, if you can put depending upon what area you shoot and everything else, I see nothing wrong with having super high-end broadheads for certain hunts and mid-range, good quality broadheads for other hunts. And as Rob mentioned, we've all come up from, Rob, you work construction, you work at a power plant now or a dam, right?
Yeah. I spent 25 years turning wrenches, though.
Yeah, there you go. See, I spent some time, as well as Rob, in the Army, which you are at a poverty level in the Army, then work construction. Blake, you're working in the oil fields right now. None of us are inherently wealthy. I never want to see a guy not go in the field because he's watching social media and thinks he has to shoot an iron will broadhead. He has to wear Sitka clothing. He has to, those things will help, but your woodsmanship, fieldcraft, and ability to shoot, animal behavior, all that shit, that is what is going to bring home the bacon. And so, yes, you want to get better equipment as you can, but don't not go out in the woods because you don't have the coolest shit known to man. Don't do that. You can be very successful, and all three of us and many others have been extremely successful wearing cotton clothing, which I do not suggest doing that, and crappy gear. Just do your best with what you've got and don't stress over it. I hate to see guys not using cool stuff and not going in the woods because of it. It's actually a huge pet peeve of mine. Okay, next question, and Amy took the bottle of whiskey away, so you should be okay, Rob. She's like, okay, Aaron, I've seen you talk at great length about different arrow weights and arrow broadhead widths. Can you please go into that in more detail, i.e. bone breaking penetration? Okay, so I think what this guy's talking about is I recently joined a group on Facebook, and the ranch fairy hopped on and said he doesn't shoot wide broadheads because they don't go through bone. I need to talk to the ranch fairy more before I start making fun of him any more than I already do. But if you do sheer numbers, just math, the chances of you hitting the stomach, liver, diaphragm, ass, you pick the body part, in comparison to the front leg bone, you have a much higher percentage of hitting the stomach, liver, diaphragm than you do the leg bone. 2, what are the chances of you actually going through that leg bone and penetrating it and going through lungs? Or the second is another thing to look at. Will that wide broadhead potentially hurt your penetration through a leg bone? Yes. Will it help you significantly if you hit it in the diaphragm, liver, or stomach? Yes, it will. So when people ask me this question from listening to this fairy dude, the chance of you actually hitting the leg bone are such a smaller percentage than hitting the stomach. That is a horrible argument to make. And if you hit something in the stomach, and we all have, you want the widest hole you can possibly get. When you hit something in the leg bone, I've seen compound shooters not go through it. Now, they're going to go into this bone breaking threshold of 650 grains or whatever else. Still, just don't hit it in the leg. Okay. I mean, it's a smaller percentage than hitting it in the stomach. So me personally, I think you should shoot the widest broadhead you can while getting good penetration on a normal shot, meaning lungs, liver, not saying stomach is normal, but you know what I mean. Lungs, liver, stomach. Don't base your entire arrow setup and broadhead setup by shooting something in the leg. It's a lot smaller in comparison to the stomach. And if you hit something with a 5.56 in the stomach compared to a 338 Lapua with a 300 grain bullet, it's going to know it got hit with that 338. So that wider broadhead, you're going to have a better chance of hitting potentially something vital, nicking a lung, nicking the liver, or whatever else in comparison to hitting it in the leg. I get the leg argument, but the leg is a lot smaller than the rest of the body. I'm going to get off my soapbox here. Do you guys want to add to that at all?
I don't think so. I mean, that's exactly along the line of thinking that I kind of go by. I mainly hunt whitetails in pretty thick cover. Blood trailing's a pain in the ass. So I, including when I was shooting a compound, if as long as I feel comfortable in my arrow setup, I want to be able to get a pass through, obviously, on a normal shot. But and that's why I shoot the poundage that I shoot with arrow weight that I shoot is I want to shoot a wide broadhead and still have enough punch to get through there. But I mean, there's the leg bone I can count. I don't know, maybe once that I've hit a leg bone or twice the heavy part of it, and it's cost me an animal. And I can count on a lot more fingers how many times I've hit the guts and not had any blood on the ground because I was shooting a tiny little broadhead. So for what it's worth, I'm a big proponent of shooting the widest broadhead that you can get away with. So I don't think there's much to add to it.
I concur.
Robert De Niro, do you
No.
have anything to add to that?
No, I concur.
And I want to take this back just quickly in context so people understand. If you're shooting low poundage and you need to shoot a narrower broadhead, I get that. I'm not talking about that. This is standard setups, is what I'm talking about. Thinking of, try to put things into perspective, and it's difficult for people that haven't been in certain situations to kind of see the future. Where Rob lives is a very, very thick, deep, dense cover. It's not quite triple canopy like Panama, but it's getting pretty damn close. I believe who was the outdoor writer that said hunting in North Idaho is like climbing a 100-story building with somebody screaming on a bugle on the top floor. With every second floor, somebody dumping a bucket of water on your head, and every third floor, somebody whacking you in the face with a branch. That is where Rob lives, and I've seen it firsthand. It's that bad. But tracking an animal in that type of terrain is difficult, and so you really want to think about not just shooting something in the leg. You really want to think about where you're hunting, how hard it is to blood trail, what animal you're hunting, those type of things, rather than just hopping on Facebook and saying, "Oh, I need an 800 grain arrow with a single bevel narrow cut so I can break the leg open." Report back to me after whacking something in North Idaho and trying to blood trail it through that godforsaken triple canopy forest in deadfall, and let me know how that worked out for you with a narrow broadhead, because the ranch fairy said you might hit a leg. You're going to want the biggest hole you possibly can. And Rob, you've hunted that thicker stuff more than anyone. How's blood trailing up there? And you're good at it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, sharp broadhead. I don't have much to add. We'll leave it right where you let it lay.
I think a lot of the narrow broadhead proponents or whatever haven't spent 2 hours looking for a speck of blood or a hoof, a track within a 30-yard circle, looking for one speck of blood, just trying to figure out a direction that a deer went. And I've been there, done that more times than I would like to admit. And if shooting a little bit wider broadhead gives me just one more drop of blood, that's what I'm going to do. Just period. I've been in that situation way too many times, and Typically they'll, with a wider head too, it's going to do more damage, and a lot of times they'll bed up quicker.
No, they will. And again, I'm not saying everybody should shoot a wide broadhead, but if it's applicable, shoot a wider head. If it's not, then shoot a narrower head. Like with Amy, I'm not going to have her shoot super wide headed an elk, but I certainly am at a whitetail. So it there's not one specific setup that works for everything all the time. All right, second to last question. Blake, Aron, what are your predictions for the best of the best shoot? 4 question marks in a row. Go ahead, Blake. What's your predictions?
Winner, chicken dinner.
I think Aron and Daniel are going to beat the hell out of me. It's the safest answer.
Chicken shit. Where's that arrogance, the cockiness? Come on, you gotta have confidence.
I'm trying to brainwash them into thinking I'm shooting really bad right now. And I'm going to kick Daniel in the leg when he's walking up the mountain, tell him how bad he sucks.
Well, Cody Greenwood told me that Daniel thinks I'm the modern day Fred Bear. So what I'm hoping is I'm going to put on my mean face, scare the holy ever living shit out of him, and occasionally on a target that's difficult, mention like, "Hey Daniel, you do know I can snap your leg in half, right?" In hopes he might shank a 5. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I think it's going to be a pretty good big battle between Daniel and I, because I think he's a better shooter than I am, but it's a mountain course, which is more my wheelhouse. And it's my home course. Obviously, it's down the road from me, so I have an advantage from that. I think pound for pound, side by side, Daniel's going to beat me on any other course for the most part. But I think on this course, I've got a chance. I would have to say, Blake, since you've already shot it, and you know what you're getting into as far as shooting on the side of a mountain. I would guess as far as trad scores, I would bet Daniel may potentially shoot down from his normal capabilities because it's a mountain course. And I would think Blake and I may shoot a little bit higher because we're used to it, and distance is a little bit more of our cup of tea. Having said that, I don't know who all's showing up. One thing I can guarantee is the shit talking will be like level 9, highest. Like, I don't know if Daniel is ready to shoot with someone like Luke, because whether Luke is shooting 5s and 0s or shooting 12s, he actually talks more shit when he's shooting worse, and I don't think he's ready for that level of crap talking. Blake, you've seen it firsthand, and Luke was hungover. He wasn't even talking that much. Nothing is sacred, and nothing is off limits. So you got to be prepared for that when you're shooting in this type of group, because you're going to get made fun of. It doesn't matter what, haircut, boots, clothing, skinny jeans, whatever you got on, anything that can be grasped at to make fun of is going to be made fun of. And God forbid if you have a southern draw, which I don't know if Daniel does, but can you imagine Luke with that? He's going to have a heyday.
Who's Daniel partnered up with?
I don't know who he's partnered up with. I think he's bringing a buddy of his.
Yeah, he's bringing a buddy. Dude, that he's such a cool kid. He's like, "Hey man, I'm bringing a buddy. I don't need to stay in your house. We can pitch a tent in your yard." I'm like, dude, we have cots. You can sleep on the floor of the couch, for Christ's sake. You don't have to sleep in my yard. Just a good dude. I hope that kid, when I say kid, I mean whatever, he's 22 or 4 or something.
That's
but
a kid.
I hope that
he's 19.
Crushes everyone in the tournament.
Is he really?
He can't even jerk off.
And I've shot with him. He's real deal, Phil. He's really good. But no, my goal for the shoot, regardless of what everybody else shoots, if I shoot above 170, I'll be pretty happy with that. I'd love to shoot 180 or better, but I'm going to have a pretty really good day to hit 180. I think on that course, I think I could do it. But
that's not the goal. That's not the goal. That's not the goal you told me, Blake.
My goal is to beat Aaron's ass, but I don't care if Daniel beats me by 30 points, if I'm being honest, as long as I beat Aron.
That's pretty funny. I think, Blake, it's not like you're not capable of it. I would say right now with the way I'm shooting, I'm super confident. But the cool thing about this is win, lose, or whatever else, obviously we're all competitive. It's just a cool shoot. I mean, whether I win or lose or not or whatever else. It's cool to hang out with a bunch of like-minded good dudes that are all competitive but all want to help out each other. There's a couple people not coming this year that I think's comical because you can only bullshit your way through so much online, and when the rubber meets the road, it's pretty hard to lie about what everybody's looking at. You know what I mean? And so there's a few people not coming this year that got spanked last year a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think that the shoot's just going to be fun all the way around. I really want to shoot against, I hope Dwayne Martin comes out. I really want to shoot side by side with Dwayne and Daniel just to see how I, stack up. I mean, win, lose, or draw. I just want to see how I do against them, especially just shooting a, 58-pound hunting bow. Obviously, if I wanted to compete with those guys at a higher level, I'd get a more of a tournament setup bow. But Rob, you should come out.
I save my days for hunting. I'm not going to a daggum 3D shoot. I just went to a 3D shoot during the middle of bear season. You know how bad that hurt?
Blake?
No,
Can
it was.
You do a very good chicken voice?
Me? No, you should come.
No,
I'm trying to get Cody Greenwood to come. I've been trying to talk him up so he'll come.
The level of shit talking from me to Cody will be
high
off the charts
class. And you throw me in, and he might walk off.
Oh, dude, he's a trad lad. I'm like, dude, you can't talk all this shit about how well you can shoot and not come to this. It's not like you can't get the time off. You work for the railroad, for Christ's sake. You can do it from your phone on the course. And I think I've got him talked into it. But if he doesn't come, the amount of memes with chickens and other, objects will be like level 9. I will not ever let it. I mean, we'll all be 75, and I'll be like, Cody, remember that time you pushed down and didn't come to the best of the best shoot?
I take that back. If Cody shows up, my goal is no longer to beat Aron. It's just to beat the shit out of Cody. I could get
He's so goofy, such a shit talker, because I'm going out to do a class with him and with Rod Jenkins. Rod's doing shooting, I'm doing backpacking and land nav, and he's like, yeah, I can't wait till you get out here till I beat your ass. And I'm like, haha, and just kind of blew it off. And he's like, you don't even have any comment for that? And I'm like, Cody, your shit talking your voodoo witchcraft does not work on me. I've seen you're not going to get in my head, man. I've got a steel trap up here, and you're not getting in it. So yeah, I mean, the last time we did it, we were in Texas, and I said, he was talking crap, and I'm like, dude, just remember, you wanted this. And so I flung a few crappy arrows in hopes he'd start gambling. He's real good at talking. He's not real good at gambling. He's just, you got to put the money where the mouth is. And he didn't bite. He didn't dive in. I was hoping I'd take some money from him, but hopefully he comes out for the best of the best shoot. So
I can tell you this. Don't let that. Don't.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say, don't let that bastard score your arrows. It could be half an inch inside the 10 ring, and he'll yank it out and tell you it was an 8.
One of those, huh?
How bad?
All right, last question.
Wait, hold on. How bad is he for scoring arrows?
Oh, he doesn't cheat intentionally. I think he just does it to be funny, but he'll run down to the target and pull your arrow out and say, nope, that was out. I'm like, Cody, I've got a $1,700 set of binoculars on my chest, and the target was 21 yards away. I know where the damn arrow was.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, good Lord. Okay, last question. This is for all three of us. Guys, top to bottom, if you had an unlimited budget, what would you choose for a gear list on high value or top line items? I'll go for this first, just quickly. Would be the setup I have now for my bow: a Blackwidow PSA with the G10 riser, carbon limbs, a Selway or Great Northern Quiver, the X impacts with the Snyder core system. Boots, I would probably choose Zamberlin 2092s or Hanwag Makras. Sitka gear is what I would run for the most part. top to bottom, as far as I'm not going to go over the whole clothing list. Obviously, a Kifaru pack. I would run a Kifaru Sawtooth or a Hilleberg tent. Solo, I would run a Hilleberg Nyack for the most part, or one of the new tarps with a Big Agnes 3-wire bivvy that we're not even out yet with Kifaru, the tarp. The optics, the Swarovski NLs, the 12x42s, or the Zeiss SF 10x42s. I've got the 115 Swaro, so I'd run the 115 or the 95. I like that marsupial gear bino harness. I'm trying to think gear wise what I'm leaving out here for the highlights. MSR reactor stove, Princeton Tech Remix headlamp, Big Agnes Q-Core SLX for 3-season sleeping pad, Thermarest X Therm for a 4-season. I'd run the slick bag from Kifaru for a synthetic, the Western Mountaineering Badger, or bristlecomb for a down bag. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I run a couple different types of socks, Darn Tough, the Zamberlan socks, Hanbach socks, they're all good. But yeah, I mean, gear wise, I get questions like that, man. If you have an unlimited budget, totally go crazy on gear. But man, I wouldn't focus on gear as much. I know that's the highlight for everyone, but you got to remember, gear can be bought. Woodsmanship, fieldcraft, things like that. Those are earned. Work on the things you got to earn first, and then worry about buying your way in later. The gear helps, but it only helps so much. What brings the animal home is what's between your ears. You guys want to throw your desired gear list in?
I would say the current setup I'm shooting as far as bow and arrows and broadheads, I'm tickled. It doesn't matter how much money I have. I'm sticking with what I got as far as that Blackwidow PCH and the Black Eagle X impacts, deep impacts. I'm sorry, and the Iron Will broadheads. But I would upgrade my boots. I've struggled with boots. I've got what the heck are they? Kenetrex right now, and it's only because they were what was in town. It just takes so much for me to go mail order boots. It's mind boggling, but I would definitely upgrade my boots and upgrade my optics. I'd look at Swarovskis as well. The other one is tree stand. I would look at some Lone Wolf tree stands, but other than that, man, I am happy with what I got. I can deal with it.
Yeah, for me, I'm shooting the bow I want. We kind of went over that earlier. If I could pick anything right now, it's what I've got. 60-inch PSA, weather rest, deep impact with the Iron Will Snyder core system out front with the solid wide. Or if you held my feet to a fire long enough, an Easton Axis with the Iron Will system up front is awesome too. Selway slide on, it's just what I've always used. Don't really have a rhyme or reason, just what I've always used, and that's what I like. Yoast tab, big fan of their brass tab. I've had the same one for almost 2 years now. It's just comfortable to me. Let's see, clothing. I wear a little bit of everything, mainly Sitka, but especially their whitetail line, the Fanatic suit, big game changer for me. Like synthetic base layers for the most part. For most of the stuff I do, they dry faster. Certainly not an expert in that field. I just, typically prefer a synthetic base layer for the most part. Trying to think. Boots. I've been through quite a few boots also, and I now got the Hanwag Makras, and that boot just fits me really well. It's pretty lightweight. Socks, I wear synthetic, darn tough socks. Headlamp, Black Diamond Storm for whitetail hunting because it's got the red lens. I like to walk into my tree stand with a red lens. For out west, I generally carry a zebra light because it's super bright. I like having a really bright light out there so that I can, if I looking for my tent in the dark or whatever. I like having a little bit brighter light, and the red lens isn't quite as important to me. Tent, Hilleberg Nyack is what I like. I use a quilt from Enlightened Equipment. I cannot sleep on my back for the life of me. So a mummy bag just doesn't work well for me. I have to use a quilt, so I use a 10-degree quilt from Enlightened Equipment. And then if it gets cold, I just layer up and sleep in my clothes if I have to. I haven't had any issues yet as far as getting cold at night. Use a couple sleeping pads here recently. I went to an Xtherm, Neo Air or whatever it is, Xtherm. Again, I only spend 10 nights a year in a tent, so I'm certainly not the guy to be asking for a stove. Soto Windmaster is what I'm using. Again, I'm sure there's probably better options. It's just what I use. Trying to think. I think that pretty well covers everything. Oh, glass. I carry 8x32 ELs on my chest. I like a pretty compact set of binos on my chest. They're easy to handhold one-handed, lightweight, pretty compact. Rangefinder, I just picked up the Leupold Full Draw 4. Really liking it so far. For backcountry stuff, I always take my 15s. I'm not used to glassing through a spotter. I'm not as effective in a spotter just because I haven't done it very much. I feel way more comfortable glassing through binos, so I always take my 15s, SLCs, and a 65 millimeter spotter. It's worth it to me to pack the extra weight of the 15s, and I'm a more efficient glasser through 15s than I am a spotter. So, yeah.
Is an efficient glasser kind of like a good placer, as Luke would say? Like the good placers get to shoot on Sunday?
Yeah. Yep. I find more meat.
All righty. With that, we'll move right along. All righty. The truth comes out. All right. Look at he's mad now. He's mad.
You.
Oh, man. There we go.
Yeah. There you go. You got to edit that out too, you son of a bitch.
Oh, that's good stuff. Well, man, you got Aaron. You want to leave us with any parting wisdom?
Man, we've talked about it before. Just make sure that your physical ability and your field craft, your woodsmanship, all of that stuff is at least equal or above your gear list. Don't get too wrapped up on gear. That's coming from a gear junkie, but truly, guys, myself, all of us, we're getting it done with subpar gear. The gear just makes you a little bit more comfortable, but don't go, don't stay home because you don't have the coolest, latest, greatest gear. Go out there with what you got, have fun, learn, don't stress out about it. And as you can get better gear, go ahead. As far as bow setups, don't get, tuning's important and everything, but don't have like self-imposed like distances that you think you have to hit before you can go out hunting. Just get as proficient as you can. The distance will come, and just try to have fun. Guys are getting way too wrapped up around certain things and taking the fun out of it. Just get out there and have a blast. Don't stress out over anything. And by all means, if you guys have any questions, you can always message me, and I'll do everything I can to help you out. But again, when guys message me about 3 different arrow setups and 3 different broadheads, that literally is the equivalent of picking an ass out of a pepper in differences. You're putting too much thought in it. Get a good arrow, get a good broadhead, get it tuned, and turn the internet off, and not worry about anything after that. Just get your ass out there and get hunting and have fun, and don't stress.
Words of wisdom.
That's
my words of wisdom with a couple of shots of whiskey.
The ass out of a pepper.
That's a good one. All right, man. We appreciate your time, dude.
No problem. I got a joke before we go. That way you can edit it out if you need to.